Saying hello to everybody, and I believe we are on broadcast mode. So thank you all for joining today, and for joining us today as we're going to be talking about social selling and social listening and what that can do, the effects that could do for your brand, and how that can help your brand. Perhaps just while the last of you are logging on there, let's do some formal introductions. So I'm delighted today to be with Matthew Waldron, starting there with Matthew. Matthew is the Trade Commissioner at Canadian Consulate General. He's actually not based in Canada, he's based in Miami, but he will introduce himself and some of the services, what we call that sort of helping hand that Canadian exporters can get from the Canadian Consulate General. And Matthew is particularly interested and particularly knowledgeable also about the online world, online tools, AI, the latest trends. So really great to have Matthew with us and showing us a little bit about some of the services provided. Erin Kelly, you've probably heard of Erin Kelly. She's on the news regularly. She's the Chief Executive Officer of a company called Advanced Symbolics, but also of Ask Polly, which is a very powerful predictive generative AI. So that's, and Erin will be talking to us a little bit about how that works and how AI is affecting online marketing and what the tool can bring to exporters and companies working on their domestic market, to boost your sales and to make sure that you're aware of your brand, how you position it, how you can do market research. So a lot of powerful things in the Ask Polly realm. So Erin's going to focus on that. My colleague Hemisha Shaw, is a senior online marketing manager for us at IBT Online. And Hemisha is going to be joining us today and talking particularly about some of the other social, what we call social listening marketing tools that we have, things like Sprout Social and other ones, and showing a little bit more about what that means in terms of information gathering and how you're positioning your brand and the impact it can have on managing brands. So I'm very glad that, and Hemisha's that's her wheelhouse, is AI for social listening. So that's her wheelhouse. I'm really delighted that Hamish is here today. And me, my name is Susanna. I'm Chief Content Officer at IBT Online. And just a quick word also on IBT Online. IBT Online is it's called a full stack online marketing company. We've been around for a long time. We've been around since 2002, which is a very long time for an online marketing company. And we're known particularly for our international business, our ability to help companies move outside their domestic market. So for a Canadian company to go to the US and really engage with prospective clients in the US, in Japan, in Germany, in Mexico, wherever it is, but also in the Canadian market. And we are a Canadian company. Our headquarters we're headquartered in Halifax, although our office is actually in Montreal. But we're also a U.S. company, and I wanted to highlight this. We signed a strategic partnership with the U.S. Commercial Service in December 2023 for this, and particularly we are the U.S. Commercial Service strategic partner for e-commerce. So that also gives us an extra sort of arm and bow, as it were, to make my metaphors, particularly with regards to e-commerce. We run these online global programs. If you want to learn more, let us know. So we have a very packed agenda today. There's a lot on our plate, on your plate. We hope to really make this a very proactive, useful, practical time together. And I'm going to start really with Matthew, looking at some of the sort of helping hand services of the Canadian Consulate General. Then I'm going to talk briefly about some basics for online marketing, and then turn to Erin and a little technical switch as we switch presenters. Hopefully that works. If not, there's a plan B. to look at some examples for Ask Polly and see what Ask Polly can do as an example of social listening. And then we're going to take it back and looking at some of the other online tools similar to, that are parallel in a sense about social selling, about social listening, online listening, and brand management in order to build your brand for that. So there's, and after that, takeaways, next steps, Q&A. So there's a Q&A time. Please pop your questions into the chat box at any time. We're happy to look at that. I would say as well, we're really grateful that you're here. We know it's a difficult time. You're on holiday, you're just coming back. Some of you taking off after Canada Day, whatever. So we're happy that you've all taken the time. So make the most out of the time. You've carved an hour out of your day. Sit back, enjoy, listen, focus on it. There's a lot here, and we're here to help in particular. With that, I'm going to hand over to Matthew to talk about a sort of what I've called a helping hand. Matthew.
Hi, folks. First thing I want to do to the audience out there is let you know that my background is in product and brand management. And the years ago when I got my international MBA and did my work in marketing and sociology and everything I had, didn't have tools like this. So in my time living and working here over the last 15 years, we've gone from having to be the soothsayers that read entrails and signs in the smoke to make marketing work to now having to be a complete intensive data analytic part of the team. And that's what I think what we're seeing here with AI and things that are going on. We're going to be able to look out, we're going to be able to reach, find, attract, retain, market to, and manage our online customer base in a way that we never could have thought of before in the old retail models and other things like this. And I think they'll go over that it touches several ways, but I wanted you to understand why we were doing this and how that comes in here. As you work with the Trade Commissioner Service and all 164 of our offices across the country, which I think is on the next slide. So we'll go ahead and kick into that if you don't mind, Susanna. The network that we've got there is 164 cities worldwide. Anywhere you find a consulate or an embassy of Canada, you're going to find a trade team that's there to help you get into that geographic region. We provide market intelligence, connections and instructions, problem solving, education, anything that we can to get things going on and help you get the most out of there. Our CAN export provides funding, though that sells out very quickly every year, and things like the Canadian International Innovation Program are there as well. We also have things at home that I love the generational thinking of the Canadian government of the Canadian technology accelerators to put those companies that are already here working and on a fast track into a multiple city introduction via our network to really launch them. Worth looking into that in your sector if you've got it. The inclusive international business development means that we're open to anyone and everyone who reaches out to us. We are a tax service and we are ready to go there. Trade missions and events are the kind of things that I put on and run with, and we'll probably be working on various things in AI, property tech, and data management coming up soon. So let me know if we've got anything there. Next slide. There we go. Now, we've been around for a long time. We collect and help a lot of people. I am just one guy in an office in Miami with my two teammates working on things on this area, but we can help coordinate, develop, and grow through that entire map that you're seeing there. The offices in Canada, the 6 offices there, are the regional offices that are your help in Canada to get involved and get connected. So look up your regional officer. Look up your regional office on tradecommissioner.gc.com. Next slide. Aaron, I think we're getting some background there. So that network, we already went over what we do, but we're here to basically help you to expand into new markets, take the risk out of them, and as I continue to say, take the scary out of it. Sometimes if you're a broad thing, you're a cutting edge bit, we can introduce you with the universities. We can introduce you to key technology development groups in the area when there's not just one connection. Other times it can be, hey, do you have a list of these people? Yes, here you go nuts. Wide variety in between, very bespoke and customizable is what we do. Next slide. It's taking a minute. Okay, the can export money there for the different sides. There is the dollar amounts there. Those do change year to year, but basically, community investments, R&D partnerships, and international business development are all eligible for can export. What that does is give you up to 50% back of what you spend. So in this case, for SMEs, if you spend 150,000 developing your product for export, marketing it for export, rolling it for export, you can get 75,000 of that back. That does require filling out government forms, being very bureaucratic, and checking back up, a lot like doing your taxes. But at the same time, it's awful nice to get that kind of money back when you're a small to medium sized enterprise, as I've seen work out before. That and working with things like MyTax, that's MITACS.ca, to help get you a PhD R&D to work with you and your international practical partners abroad. Next slide. And well, that just went over what I just really talked about, but a lot of those things that are in there, well, what does this account for? Legal and business services, getting your things switched, search engine optimization, something IBT and everybody here knows something about, localizing your language, getting in on this side, using things, even buying into tools like social listening and social selling tools that we're talking about here today. And you can bring yourself out of the guessing dark ages that I grew up in into a beautiful sunlit data analytic world that lets you see, know, and broadcast your folks into the future. Next slide. Something going on. There we go. Come on, slide. Okay. Susanna, we having trouble with the slide? There we go. Yep, that's the support. Every year that we do this, the CTAs are really interesting. Look into these. For example, we just did one on property tech. So we were able to run them in New York, Miami, and Madrid. Major systems there at real estate shows with different focuses, and take companies that were everything from technical and software based to hardware based and construction side through these three areas to really push them out into the market. You have to have something past MVP. You've already got to be selling. You've already got to be rolling. This is to help the fast movers move faster. It is a time commitment. It's something in there, but they do tend to make it very smashable, very workable, and definitely worth the ROI when you get into it. So definitely take a look if that's the kind of thing you'd like to do to accelerate. Next slide. Finally, this is the ecosystem. So you're like, who's the TCS? Well, we're all of this. We're part of the Global Affairs Canada. We're the International Economic Business Development arm. But all the folks that you see there that you've worked with before, FIT, Startup Canada, BDC, EDC, all the alphabet parts, that's all part of what we do. And we're part of that international network. And as I say, you've already paid for it. It's free. You might as well use it and find out what you can do with it. Next slide, if that isn't it. I think it's just my contact info.
Matthew, thank you so much. I'm sorry if the slides were a bit glitchy. I think there was a.
There you go. Actually, that is those regional offices that I was talking about. There we go.
There we
There's a
go.
very slow slide action going on. Yeah. But that's really all I got to say, folks. Go ahead and kick through that. What I brought you here for today, this is based on the feedback that we got of people wanting to know advanced technologies and advanced ways to increase their exports abroad. I can't tell you how much over the last 6 months I've been looking into this, seeing this evolve since the ChatGPT and AI explosion, what people have learned how to do. The bonus to this, when you're working with Canadians and Canadian companies, is that generational thinking. You'll find a lot of companies in the US and other markets are even driving VCs nuts with this. They're just stapling ChatGPT to what they have and saying it's a new technology. When you're working with Canadians that have been in this, in the schools that have been developing this and focused on AI networks, digital networks, and that kind of thing now for over 15 years in public-private partnership, you're getting something that's 2 to 3 generations ahead in most cases. I don't care if you're working with generic large language models, you're looking at informational selling like we have here today, or you're looking at any other parts of AI engineering for back work, ease of facilitation, compliance, etc. You will find in the top 20 companies working on AI today that their headquarter or head of that AI group is either in Canada or Canadian. Be very proud of what you're working with. Be very proud on brand here as we're running away with it at the moment. And really leading the world is the first place that actually has policies and discussions in place on how to implement a lot of AI in the government, what's allowed, how to regulate it, how to put it together. Even myself, I'm going to get a GAC GPT, which will allow me to have a large language model to work everything in and out on the inside. So that's what we're looking for. That's what I'm really excited about. But I'm going to get you onto the topic as a whole because I'm eager to hear more about it too.
Matthew, thank you so much. Thank you. But, let's dive into sort of what we're calling. I wanted to set the scene. Before we do that, I just wanted to ask everybody in the audience, if they're already on the international side, are they already looking internationally? Have they started that export journey at all? Are they and if so, are they using social media to promote your brand? Are you already started that curve? Have you already gone into thinking about it? So grab your mouse and click on one of these things on your screen, and love to get some of those responses. Just to give you some quick feedbacks about it, very few of you are already using social media for your domestic and your international presence. But what's interesting is, well, actually, sorry, they've just changed quite a bit. What's really interesting is that if you're using social media already, you're doing it for international and domestic, or you're not doing it at all. So very few of you are only doing it for Canada, which is very interesting, I think. So once you take that leap, you go further. That's a lovely interpretation there. Thank you very much. I thought we'd start with some basics just to set the scene, just so we have some shared background here, and just some clear basics. Just first of all, the impact of the web. Who's using the web? Is the web the right tool? If you've what happens? Does anyone not have a website these days? If you look at it, we're 66%, so 2/3 of the globe, of the world of 8 billion of us, 5.5 billion, 5.4 billion of us are using the internet. And nearly all of them, 5 billion, are using social media. And what blows me away is that the average time globally to spend online is nearly 7 hours. So you got 5.5 billion people spending 7 hours a day on the internet. And I think that statistic alone will tell you how important it is to make sure that your online business development tools are working hard for you. Internationally as well, if you look at social media for brand research, it's interesting as well. Canada actually lags behind the worldwide average for the use of social media for brand research. Hold on, that's on the next slide, sorry. There we go. So the white bar there is the worldwide average. The red arrow is Canada. And you can see, most of the world use social media more even than we do. And the same thing kind of like for e-commerce. We always think of, and again, the red arrow is Canada, the white bar is the global one for weekly online purchases for e-commerce. And I just put up the top there of that slide, the number of shoppers worldwide in the USA. The USA, we always think of as a huge e-commerce market. It's 12%. That's all. The USA is 12% of the global e-commerce market. That's all. So again, this is very much a global phenomenon. These numbers, by the way, are B2C. On the next slide, B2C. On the next slide is B2B, which in fact is much larger than B2C. So I just wanted to give you some background numbers, paint the picture in the background before we dig in. 5.5 billion of us are online for nearly 7 hours a day. People are researching brands. 70% of that is researching brands online via social media. 60-70% of those 5 billion are doing e-commerce. And actually, B2B e-commerce is even larger. So those are the takeaways from that, which leads us on the online marketing side to really think about the future of sales. And the future of sales for us is a digital first experience. It's sort of hyper automated, which is why we see very much the integration of AI into our everyday lives. Online marketing is very, very affected by AI, and it is transformational, as you'll see during this webinar. It is the future of sales for us that is a digital first experience, and it is omni-channel. You have to meet your prospective clients in the place they want to be met with a personalized experience. Remember that much of this is driven from what I think is really from the B2C side, so that the experience you have on Amazon, that's what you want everywhere else as well. And it's always, like everything online, customer centric. Now, customer centric brings me to a buyer persona. When companies look for their online marketing strategies and things, sometimes a little confusion between your ideal company and who's actually taking the decisions within that company. So if you are a manufacturer of mugs, let's say, then you want to sell to your ideal companies are restaurants and coffee shops, but your person, the buyer persona, is the person who actually makes the decision within that. And because all online marketing is personalized, you want to identify that person and that buyer persona, and that is what a buyer persona is at the time. So that's what we want to figure out right from the start. And there's lots of ways of doing that, and I've included some of that on this slide. On the next slide here, I wanted to give you an example. It's an example I really like because it's so visual. It's so exact. It's Zipcar. Zipcar is a company that actually integrates its buyer persona into its mission statement. It says, we are, Zipcar is made for urban dwelling, educated, techno-savvy customers who are environmentally conscious. And then the imagery they have reflects that buyer persona. Here you've got these college kids with a plant. For Zipcar. So they have identified very clearly their buyer persona and are reflecting that in their social media. Another example I wanted to give you is L'Oreal. And L'Oreal is a very sensitive company as well to its buyer persona. And here are some of the questions you might want to ask yourself when you're thinking about your buyer persona. Is my Canadian buyer persona different from my international one, from my US one, from my German one? If so, in what ways? Are there multiple buyer personas in my export markets and in my domestic market? In which case, do I need to reflect that? How does my international buyer persona find me, engage with me, interact with me? Is it by telephone? Do they do contact forms? Do they do WhatsApp? How do they interact? I need to reflect that and give them what they want. And in what way is that buyer's journey different? How do they engage? How do they convert with you? So this is a picture of L'Oreal USA. And it looks like a very nice picture. These women only, because it's a hair company, it's a shampoo company. They're on the top floor of a very urban setting. They're very engaged. They're all on their iPhone. If you look at L'Oreal Mexico, it is subtly different. Well, it is different. There again, it's very urban, young, dynamic, but it's more collegiate. They're all hanging together there. And there's two guys in the image too. So this is what L'Oreal Mexico has decided fits the Mexican buyer persona. And if you look at L'Oreal Canada, it's a bit different again. L'Oreal Canada has decided that the Canadian buyer persona wants to see something like this, that this image resonates with that local buyer persona. Another example I want to give you just about how then buyer personas react differently to social media. So this is a screenshot. It dates a little bit. Anyone from GA4 would see that right away. But nonetheless, it was so vivid at the time that I like to keep it. It just startled me when I saw this. Social media post on Facebook, actually, at exactly the same time. Okay, one's in Spanish, one's in English. One's for Canada, one's for Mexico. Same product, small changes, and so on. But there they are. And on the Canadian side, we had just over 1,200 engagements, and on the Mexican side, we had 20,000. So same post, but on the Mexican side, the Canadians, we were actually pleased with 1,000. It showed an engagement from Canadian audience, which can be kind of frosty. The Mexicans, they were sharing baby pictures back with us. It was phenomenal. It was just like that. And that is a difference in engagement with a buyer persona. And your online presence has to reflect the market and your buyer persona. So that's really the takeaway from what I wanted to say here. Before I hand over to Erin, I wanted to ask again, sort of a little quickly, if you want to learn more about online business tools, you want to learn more about what we do, let us know. We can send you some slides or some blogs, and we'll send you some links of things to learn more if you have an interest in that. Again, if you want to learn more about either e-commerce, online marketing, or websites, international, and so on, let us know, and we will then reach out with you too. And with that, I think we're going to close. But thank you all very much for doing that. And I'm going to hand over to Erin. And Erin, I think you're on mute at the moment.
Great. Thanks very much, Susanna. Hi, everyone. I'll share my screen because I've got some slides here. And I'm going to talk to you about how to do predictive behavior modeling to make sure that you're spending your marketing dollars in the right place and that you're getting yourselves found, and on top of all those new SEO rules. So that's what we're going to cover today. So first, a little bit just to establish some creds. These are just some of the brands that work with us. You can see we work with Fortune 1000 brands. We also work with small companies. We go from all the way from, because Poly is very, very cost effective, but just to show you that trusted brands are putting their faith in us, and I'll show you why. Also the government, and if you are in the business of public policy, PR, advocacy with governments all around the world use Ask Polly because of the scientific nature of how she's able to get her market research information. So Public Health Agency of Canada, of course, we guard privacy as well, but Public Health Agency, obviously stakes are very high. And when the stakes are high, people use Polly. Just as an example, we do all of the foodborne illness tracking in Canada for Genome Canada. We had a salmonella outbreak in Canada in the fall last year. Polly was the first to flag that, that we had a salmonella outbreak. Number two, that it was cantaloupes, so the government could quickly get the cantaloupes off the shelves. And she also forecast that the outbreak would end on January 10th, and it ended January 7th. So this is something that we would not have been able to do with AI. We would have had a lot more fatalities had we not had the ability to flag these things very early. So Polly, and she worked in COVID and all of this kind of stuff. So does a lot of work in healthcare. Our work has been published by leading science bodies around the world. The National Academy of Sciences has presented our work, the IEEE, and a lot of our work, especially the work we do with the government, etc., is published in Springer Verlag. Springer Verlag is the review journal that published Einstein. So they have very, very high standards. All that to say, that's why leading brands work with us, because we have the lowest margin of error in the industry when it comes to predictive analytics. We've also had a lot of media attention. That's me on TV. We've been covered by the BBC, Forbes, Wall Street Journal, etc., all talking about and they use us to do predictive work, predict elections, predict economic forecasts, all that sort of thing. Okay, so why do you guys want to use Ask Polly? Let's just look at how the world is going to be changing in the next 18 months. Search is moving to AI. That means that going forward, customers aren't going to be going to your website first themselves. They're going to be picking up their phone or going to their search engine buddy and saying, I want to buy a new car. I want it to be electric. This is the range. This is the price. These are the features. What are the most popular models? What are people saying? And that's how people are going to discover your brand. That's the new SEO. It's ranking and it's momentum. It's how people have talked about you in the past. And it's also about how quickly new people are talking about you. And we can measure that and make sure that's fed to the search engines and if you're not growing and getting highly ranked, then we can help you figure out how to get there. But assuming you are there, we can also show you how to expose that to the AI engines, because there's very particular ways you have to do it. Next, social media is decentralizing. You've probably heard about the Fediverse. That means that you're going to have a lot more options for promoting yourself on social media going forward than just buying Facebook ads. And in fact, if you're not learning how to do that, you'll be at a huge disadvantage, not only because you'll get better reach and better audience reach by learning about the Fediverse, but also you're going to save a lot of money because it's going to become like television, where the different networks have different ratings. Maybe some communities have more of your persona, as Susanna was describing, than others. So you really have to learn that. Now, Polly does learn that. She keeps track of everything in the Fediverse, where those personas and audiences are hanging out, so you can get the best bang for your buck. If Facebook is like the Super Bowl, it's too expensive to advertise on, and you don't need it anyway because your audience is hanging over here on Mastodon, then that's where you should be advertising. So it's optimizing your spend. And the same thing for the long tail creator economy. As you go international, your audience isn't just going to be hanging out in one place internationally. In China, they might be hanging out here. In Argentina, they might be hanging out there. So you need to understand all these YouTube channels, all of these creative outlets where people will be hanging out, these podcasts and all of that. We also do radio, television, out of home. So if you're doing advertising in those spaces, we can measure the effectiveness of those too, worldwide. Polly speaks every language. So the idea here is that to stay relevant in the future, this multidimensional universe, and you need a way to measure that whole space. But Polly can do it all for you, and it's very easy. This orange dot represents your place in that Fediverse. Polly, you don't have to worry about getting a panel together. If you want to know what the demand is for your product in Mexico, Polly can put together an audience of Mexican nationals for you, and she speaks Spanish, so she could analyze that for you in 2 minutes. So you don't have to go out and worry about that. You can do your market research right away. 2 minutes is how long it takes to get a full statistically validated market research with a lower margin of error than what you would get with just about any other platform except for traditional market research. We're about the same as traditional market research. So probabilistically sampled and always on. She does all of the data collection for you. It's all bespoke. So for example, for the audience, if your audience is vegetarians with oily skin, then she can put that audience together for you. You don't have to find those participants, and she can tell you. And she's doing it through social media and through review sites. She can do any topic, any scenario, any time frame. She can go back 10 years. And she can also forecast into the future, as Susanna mentioned. She does all the analytics for you, the full demographic breakdown. She can tell you what Gen Zs are saying and what people over 65 are saying, what people with oily skin think. She can tell you what influencers are promoting your brand and which ones are dissing your brand. And she does the full channel analysis. Where are they talking about, or where should you be talking about your brand? And she does those more advanced features for the insights. So the impact analysis. So what impact did your campaign have on sales? She doesn't just tell you how many clicks or likes you got. She tells you that this ad on this podcast led to 7 sales or 300 sales, hopefully, or 3,000. She can tell you how many new people are talking about you that didn't talk about you last month or last year. You set the time frame. And she can do full customer journey mapping. And important to understand that this is designed for marketers, so it's easy to use. You don't have a whole bunch of tags and booleans. You ask her like you would talk to Google or ChatGPT. So she's a full stack research tool. Here's an example of one of our customers. You see here, it shows you how many people are talking about, she's forecasting the demand for the product in every state and telling you whether it's going to go up or down. And of course, when it's down, that means that you have to put more spend in that area. So she shows you how it changes month to month. She also has all the breakdown in the background. This is the stuff that you feed to the search bots. You see monthly change in conversation, the location where the conversations are taking place, and you feed that information to the bots, and I'll show you how. So this is a customer of ours that sells skin creams, like, you know, for looking at your wrinkles and your acne and all that kind of thing. Won't tell you which one is our customer, but they put, this is just a slice from this is a hidden page on their website that shows how they stack up to the competition in terms of rank. So how people talk about them online. And they want to make sure they're there because let's say somebody is saying, what's the best cream for wrinkles? Here's the price point I'm willing to pay. You know, here's where I live, all of that sort of thing. You'll see here in wrinkles, there's two competitors there, Paula's Choice and SkinCeuticals. Paula's Choice is ahead. So if you're SkinCeuticals, you're going to want to use Polly to figure out how you bump up. If you're Paula's Choice, you want to make sure that the search bots know that you're the top in the world for wrinkles. And here, Polly gives you she shows you the science behind how this was gathered, which is important for these search bots like Perplexity and Gemini and all that. Polly creates an independent sample of 2 million people from Twitter, Reddit, Blue Sky, TikTok. 95% confidence, 2% margin of error. You're never going to get that in something like Brandwatch or any of these other tools. The question was, it tells you the question that was posed and all of that, so that Google and all of these players can have confidence that this data is accurate and they can go check it out for themselves. And they're making sure they put it up there so they can be discovered. So these are the new, and that's why this is in use today. So if you're not doing this kind of thing, you're behind on the SEO stuff. If you're wondering why you're not being able to stay up, the new SEO rules that were published in November and again in January and will continue to get more stringent, they want to see these kind of metrics. By the way, this is updated every week for this customer. So they want to know every week. If you're updated every week, if this is updated every week, but your competitor is updating every 6 months or once a year, you're going to be at the top. Okay, so it's getting rid of the old vanity metrics with clicks and likes, and and word tags and favorite words. That's all going away. Now it's about what's your impact? How do you rank? You've got to optimize your message for these bots to make sure you're found. It's about knowing your audience really, really intimately. As Susanna was saying, you have to really understand who your audience is and what your audience is saying about you at all times. And if they start to fall out of love with you, then you've got to get this message optimization, and Polly can help you really hone in what's driving them away and how can you change that. So that's what we do. We also, there's new types of KPIs and OKRs that you can measure now with AI. It's not just, share of voice and all of these old school things, but the net intention score. What is the intention of your audience to buy your product in the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? What are the drivers of that intent? What is the intent to churn and what's causing them to want to churn? So you can predict your churn, and you can do this every week based on conversations that are happening with real people online. And then the kind of content that lifts your sales, you can forecast that in advance because Polly can look online and see what types of content did they react well to from other brands. Well, they'll react well to this with the same audience, but it's important that you understand your audience in order to do that. So she was designed for this new paradigm shift. We can identify and measure any bespoke audience and channel, forecast messages that change behavior, measure the impact of specific campaigns on sales, and it's better, cheaper, faster than anything you'll use today. I'll just take a quick run through of a real case study just to show you how it works in real time. So this is a customer that has snack food, they were making the same mistake everybody else makes, put a bunch of ads on Facebook and see which ones get the most click, and that's the ad we go with. That's a click strategy. It's not a sales strategy, okay? Here's the problem. So the first thing they did when they came on with Polly is they tested. They ran their ads in Ontario, but they did not run them in British Columbia and Canada. And Polly was able to show them that there's no difference in the number of people talking about their product in Ontario where they were running the ads and British Columbia where they were not running the ads. So that means that the ads are having no effect. So you're getting clicks and likes, and there's different reasons for that. That's because Facebook optimizes for that, but they're not getting sales. So what did they need to do? Well, first of all, they were targeting a parent audience, and that's not specific enough. Parents can be customers that want nut-free allergy snacks, dessert-type snacks. This was a healthy snack, and so you needed to look at parents who are either nutrition educated, but look at how small that audience is. That's a small audience. Healthy lifestyle focuses 8 times the size of nutrition educated, so that's a better audience. Also, nutrition educated, the reason they're so small is because they have really healthy snacks like carrot sticks and apples, and not necessarily the kind of snack our customer had. So once you've identified this customer, then you can go deep on that customer. What are the drivers for that customer? Polly says 2, nutrition and price. They don't care as much about taste or convenience or packaging. These, by the way, were the 6 different types of ads they were running. 4 of them were a waste. Okay, that's what Polly is saying. And she said that by focusing on nutrition and price, you can lift sales 56% over 6 months. So she can get very, very specific. So what is it about nutrition? Well, she can also test the messages. So the top 3 are the messages you should use, like fuel your adventures. And the bottom 3 are messages she says stay away from. Pure energy, pure delight, not a good message. It might sound good, but she's comparing it to other things that have made them buy in the past, and that one is not as optimized. Okay, so she also optimizes your price for you, and she said put in a box of 5 kids snack bars for $5. And she tells you which podcasts and YouTube channels and Instagram places you should be advertising in. So it's not just Facebook, it's the Nourished Child podcast, Healthy Children. This is where your audience is hanging out. And often podcasts are really good because they allow more participation from the sponsor, and sometimes they'll talk up the sponsor. So after 1 week of this new focus and being on these podcasts, they had a 300 unit increase in sales in 1 week. So it's really, really impactful stuff. So that's it for me. If you would like to connect later, you can go through Susanna, or I'm at aaron.kelly@askpolly.ai. You can take a picture of that if you like.
Erin, as always, thank you so much. Let's just ask if you'd like to get more information about askpolly.ai, let us know, and Erin can reach out, send you some links, or you can go on the website and things like that. What's really fascinating is to see Ask Polly, as well as other AI tools, generative AI tools, really impacting the way social media is run, the way online marketing is run. Anyway, thank you very much for that. Let's end that poll and go back to before we run out of time. I see a couple of questions coming in as well, which is great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We just have to change presenter again. Here we go. And we're going to be talking now about brand management in general, what's called social selling, listening, and monitoring. So diving right in, and I'm conscious of time. Branding strategy is something that is absolutely the core of online marketing and any kind of online business development tool. And we break it out into 10 sort of big buckets that are interlinked, obviously, but that really encompass the entire ongoing process of brand development. And it's really important to understand how deep brand development goes. It's not just, once it's developed, for example, you need to be thinking about how you maintain it through thought leadership, how you train, how are new employees being brought on board, how are distributors being told what to do, where are your brand guidelines, are they complete, are they AI proof? in today's world. So a lot goes into that sort of brand management. I guess, though, from our point of view, it starts with some core online tools. For example, your website, for example, online marketing. And those remain, at least in the Western world today, your key tools of your toolkit. What you overlay them with, Ask Polly, Sprout Social, Moz, Hotjar, Mouseflow, all the other possible online tools, software tools that people like IBT Online use to help their customers. That depends on the strategy. That depends on where you're going, and of course also on budget. But the two core that you have to think about right from the start is really making sure that your website, your online marketing, is working hard for you. If you remember those numbers in the beginning of this webinar, when we talked about how many people and how much time spent on the web, make sure those tools are working hard for you. They are your best sales reps in many ways. We talk about localization, and I'm not going to go into a long explanation on that. We've done that on other webinars. I just wanted to give you one example, and Erin touched on this as well. If you're not hitting the right keyword, you are just emptying your wallet to Google or to whoever it is you're doing a pay-per-click with. If you're in the athletics business and you're calling your runners, you're calling them runners in the USA, you're not going to get far. Less than 10% of people in the USA type in the word runner for their athletic shoes. They use sneakers. Not like in Canada, where 2/3 are using the word runners. So again, making sure those, and that's the basic level of optimization and keywords. And then after that, you need, in today's world, a continuous upgrade and a continuous monitoring, and as Erin was showing very well, an integration to make sure of that relevance. But at all times, that local buyer persona is at the center, at the core of anything you do online. So any activity online is always customer centric, is always buyer persona centric. And language is one criteria out of, I think, the 10 that I've listed there. Hosting, all those other things, mobile enablement, all those things come into it and play. Let's give some quick examples. When you're looking at building brand awareness across different platforms and across different markets, you're looking to say, okay, I want to interact. I've identified my buyer persona. I know what they're looking for right now, and I want them to understand. For example, in this case, I don't want them to look for synthetic oil. I want them to look for AMSoil. So I'm going to be promoting that, and I want my distributors only to promote that word and build that brand over time. This is a company that works with a very, very strong brand identity from the start, and but it's not easy because it's on e-commerce, so you're always visually up against your competitors, and as well as that, you work via distributors. They also work, they generate leads for their distributors. That's how they work. And a lot of companies do that. If you look at, for example, in the Mexican market, they generate all the leads and they have all then they'll show you where their distributors are, but they take in charge their own brand management. They're not going to leave that to their distributors who might do a bad job. Their distributors are great at inventory management, logistics, after sales, all those things, but they're not always great at marketing the brand for the company. So the company takes charge and does not leave that in someone else's hands. And they are a company that listens very carefully at all points to what's going on in their brand, and we use different platforms for that listening to make sure that it's all working well in all their diverse markets. Another company I wanted to highlight is a company. It's actually not a Canadian company. It's a U.S. company called Oscarware. Really, really delightful little company. They've been around for ages. Woman-owned, woman-managed, that sort of thing. And they invented something called an Oscarware grill, which is you put it on the barbecue so things don't fall into the barbecue. but these things were very much copied by cheap imports, and they were selling in a lot of places in physical stores like Walmart, and they just felt that they had no brand control, there was no pricing, and they were losing pricing, and they were price erosion. And so they said, the only thing that's going to distinguish us is our brand. We need to make sure that our brand is working really, really hard for us. And so, what we do with them is we engage, really strong identity of who buys their product, why they buy it, and what that brand product is all about. And if you look at the adware that we have for them, for example, you'll see some of the product, but what you mainly see is the cooking, family togetherness, the event, the things, and that's what resonates with the buyer persona. So it's recipes, it's things like that. So that's where we've gained traction with them. That's where we've seen real success. Advertising the products on their own doesn't work because people then go and find a cheaper one. This identifies with their tribe, their community, their grillers who say, I want family time all together around the barbecue. That's what we're going to have for it. So that's the marketing that goes on. A very close alignment and a close reading of their buyer persona and what they are in the market. A last one that I wanted to show you was just a company called Bloommaker. And again, this is a company which really, what's interesting to us is challenges that they have so many different channels. So they're on Amazon, Walmart, Pinterest, they're on everything. And they do bulbs, flower bulbs. So it's very much B2C, very seasonal. And if you miss it, your year is gone. So you have to be very close to watch exactly what's happening at all times on all these different platforms. So you need to know what's happening on Amazon and Pinterest at the same time. And that's part of the challenge for that. And it's really, really, first of all, it's a beautiful product. So it's nice to do. But it's really interesting to see these different platforms working all together. And again, what sells their plants are the visuals, just these enormous flowers at very specific times. They have to have them absolutely on the right day at the right hour. For that Mother's Day, for that Valentine's Day, and especially for Christmas, they have to hit certain key points on different platforms. And that's something, again, that we manage through various different software tools that we can use, similar to Ask Polly, for example, as an example. Like Ask Polly would certainly be able to do something like that. So again, these are tools that are really helpful in making sure that you're absolutely hitting your sales points when you need to, because otherwise your year's gone. Right. Hemisha, you had some problems with your microphone earlier. How are you feeling about talking about social listening? Whoops. I cannot hear a thing. I can't hear a thing. No. Oh dear. Let's see if we can fix that. But in the meantime, I heard you there for a moment. No, I'm not hearing you. Do you know what? I'm going to rattle on, and I've got Hemisha's notes. So I'm okay. I'm just going to read your notes. And I apologize. You have my voice again. Hemisha's voice is much nicer. So we wanted to sort of talk just a very, very short, briefly about social listening. It's different from what Ask Polly does. It's a little bit different in terms of brand management. It's one aspect of it, but it is a very wide aspect as well. Social listening, the screenshot that Hemisha has used here with those top icons comes, I think, from Sprout Social. And those are some of the different things that Sprout Social will be looking to do with you. But almost all of the AI tools that we're using in today's online marketing help you to create content, help you to do the calendar event side that you need to do on these events, and then competitor analysis and monitoring again. A lot of them will go into industry analysis, and Erin was very good at showing that, and Ask Polly how that does. The most important part for us as well is always to have a strong reporting, analytics, and metrics. That's the only way you can really make sure that you're getting the right aspects for it and the right side. On the next slide, I thought this was quite interesting to show. It's just an example of what one can do with it's a very I've taken these tools give you huge reports and a lot of data. They accumulate thousands and thousands of points of data points. I just wanted to take something as simple as possible to show you an example of sort of a social listening, and also sort of what kind of questions, what kind of effects can you have. So this is Facebook. Actually, it's Instagram as well, but you can't see the pink line. Um, and the question really was, the engagements were not great for this company. There's a client of ours, and they are getting about 150 engagements per day on Facebook and Instagram. We were not happy with that level. We said, what should we do? And the imagery on their websites and the imagery on their social media was not always the best. We said, let's try video. Everyone wants a video. Nobody wants to read video. So do we put a video on the homepage? Well, yes or no, because videos are expensive. Let's figure out if we do this. And through online tools, we can see what some of the competitors are doing and measure it. And I think Erin gave you a good example of looking at competitors and figuring out also what are the things that fit me. What do I want to adopt? What do I not want to adopt? Where are they? Where are we on this? We also noted that the market that they're targeting was very, very visual, very highly receptive to videos and short reels. So this was a good thing. So the question, should we include a video on our homepage? The question is, from our point of view, from the data we're seeing, yes, it's worth the cost of doing that. And even a short reel these days, not that expensive. So the return on that was, and the engagement, and you can see that line, like I think on the 5th of June or something, put it on, and the next day, it went from sort of 200 to over 600 views per day, and that was what we wanted, and that was clearly driven by the AI tool, by the social listening tool. On the next slide, again, just another example, just of the sort of continuous listening that you have with these social listening tools. And we wanted to say, and again, I've taken very simple ones. I just took Instagram and Facebook. I just took Meta really. But you can get graphs that just look like, there's just so many lines on it, because it'll look at it'll look at Reddit, TikTok, just a huge number of platforms that you could determine across these different social media platforms for your brand. So again, what is our brand engagement across different social media platforms? How do they change over time? Are we doing well? Are we not doing well? And so again, these data points comparing this allow us to see a real-time or near real-time engagement across all the different platforms that there were. And the last example, we're running out of time. How is my brand positioned compared to my top 7 competitors, again, across all of my target markets? All my target markets, where am I versus them? And again, looking at the data points, comparative rankings of thousands of data points, and allows me to say where I am against them. We've blocked out their names, obviously. Where we are against them, how it works, and then I can take that as snapshots over time and say, this is how it was now. I changed something. Have I improved? So that's really the litmus test at the end. We're getting into takeaways, next steps. Thank you very much. Yes, okay. If you want to have any further information about the IBT Online global programs, let us know. We'd be happy to send you some information. And I think as Matthew said, they're eligible for some of the CAN export, as is Ask Polly. Very quickly, our key takeaways. Your key takeaways. Get on board. Get on board with the future of sales. I think that was a message loud and clear from IBT Online, from Erin, and from Matthew. We're agreed on that one point. You need to be on board with this future of sales with AI, with the online tools, and making sure they're really working hard for you. Those numbers in the beginning that I gave, and then the examples that Erin has given as well, really make I think drive home that point. And from our point of view, at least have those 2 basics. your website, your online marketing, making sure they are working hard for you, making sure that your buyer persona is at the core of that. So that, making sure that that's your best sales rep, that they're really buyer persona. In terms of the future of sales, what we're seeing is the latest trends on that, the latest trends. I think as we said, there's lots going on in this field, everything from compliance and privacy, social commerce, the combination of both personalization and customization, which is a really interesting topic, e-commerce and AI. And the AI part was what we wanted to really focus in on today. From our point of view, and echoed, I think, very much by Erin, the rise of AI is absolutely transformative for the online marketing world and therefore for our world in general. Remember, we're all spending, nearly 7 hours a day on the online. AI has infiltrated all parts of that now already. So make sure that you integrate and have knowledge at least, or reach out, if not to some of those challenges of today. I have that, I think, on the next slide, Celia. Thank you. Integrating that into what we call smarketing, which is sales and marketing processes, and aligning your online presence with smart AI, and making sure you have the right one. We have online marketing has always used AI. It has always used smart software, but the big LLMs, the predictive modeling ones like Ask Polly, are absolutely transformative. So please get on board. Then, other takeaways. Get in touch with Erin. Test out Ask Polly. Go to their website. Look at it. Go and check it out. Get on board with that. Matthew is there as well. There's connect with all the different ones across the provinces. There's the main websites for them. You also have Matthew's email for that. And I guess if you have interest we have a ton of resources on our website as well, IBT Online, IBT.onl, and on the services or on the resources page, you'll find lots of free downloadables. We've slightly gone over our time. There's a bunch of questions. I'm going to be asked very indulgently for just a tiny bit of more time. There's just 3 questions that are really quick questions. Erin, you said Ask Polly is multilingual. Is multilingual. You mentioned multilingual for Ask Polly. Does Ask Polly do Arabic? You're on mute.
Yes, in fact, I'm glad you asked that. Not only do we do Arabic, we're the first company in the world to do 2-byte languages like Arabic and Mandarin and things like that. And we actually went into a competition for 2-byte language. That's what we call 2-byte languages. And Polly was first in the world. Stanford University was second. So we are leaders in that space. We do Arabic.
Congratulations. Matthew, there's a quick one as well for you. You mentioned Can Export. Where do I get information on Can Export? Do they cover the costs of IBT Online? Do they cover the cost of e-commerce? And do they cover the cost of Ask Polly?
Well, in this situation, what you're looking for is tradecommissioner.gc.ca, and you want to find your regional office closest to you in Canada and start your inquiry there. You can also reach out to me and I'll introduce you, but it's eventually going to go through the same thing.
Okay.
Second half of that question was, how do we utilize Can Export? Can Export, they'll have folks there to help you go through the application process, tell you when the next window's open, how it is, how your organization applies, and work through it. They have specialists at the regional offices and the provincial offices in Canada to help you work on that. I am kind of the person who deals with the net effect of you getting that grant, helping you on the ground on the other side.
We have also helped customers, because you mentioned Ask Polly, who have wanted to use those kinds of funds like OCI and things like that to fund Ask Polly, and we've successfully helped them do that by contacting our rep as well. So You
Oh,
can
and yeah, to
take a guess.
clarify, if it is building your export market, if it goes towards it, I think in that list of things that I said, it said including your digital marketing and everything else, it can go towards it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much. Oh, there's one other thing. We did put something, I think, in the chat box, which is a link to a blog about branding, uh, so just general brand management, which I think is a blog. I think that's in the chat box somewhere if you want it. I am conscious of time. We've gone over time by 5 minutes. I want to thank you all so much. Thank you very, very much, Matthew, as always, for organizing, for thinking up the subjects, for getting in touch. Hamish, I'm so sorry. I messed up your notes as well. Next time, did as best I can. And Hamish is absolutely the expert on Sprout and other AI tools. Aaron, as always, a pleasure. And I love the granola examples. I am not a carrot and apple stick, whatever. Granola bars, yes, I'm all for it. And our audience, you took some time out of your day. We appreciate it very much. See you next time, all, and take care. Be well. Happy post Canada Day. Bye bye. Thank you very
Okay.
much. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.
Take care.